So, so there are only a handful of artists from India who are, tackling with these kinds of technologies in their art practice. So, how do you see that working out for yourself? And yeah,
I'm still in a very like a nascent stage, and like only starting to kind of fly. So I'm just starting to like, uh, you know, spread my wings, and I'm just like seeing what is, if I can get like a place where I can call my own, and like where I can create more of this matter. With other artists, I find their work also very like intriguing and really cool, especially coming from India. It is a bit challenging, and that's why I started the studio,
yeah,
so that first I could sort like my bills, and my co-founder is also here, Mike, with me. So I just wanted to like at least get some projects in hand, commercial projects, so that we could you know get the bill sorted, and then once that is done, like then we can concentrate on the art project. I never left Nadi, for that matter. I kept on pursuing it, even though we had like ups and downs in that this whole journey. And yeah, but then I see other artists also doing the same thing, like everyone does the same thing. They work, and then they also make their art at the same time.
yeah,
Yeah, but then there is no comparison in terms of the style and the aesthetics, because I feel like the kind of work that I'm picking, and the kind of work that I'm pursuing is pretty like coming from a very personal sort of space,
yeah,
and again, I love taking risks. Because there's nothing to lose, right? What is there to lose? So I love taking risks, and I love like experimenting. This is as a personality also, I'm very
experimental, high
experimenter, free
spirited.
will sort of
Yeah.
a person. So yeah, I like that.
Mm, so I had this question, but I couldn't really phrase it pehle. So this thing, the question is, your works embrace artificial serendipity and synthesia, but is artificial serendipity any different from conventional creative practices? What's your take on that?
I don't know. You've
That's
taken like you've gotten these terminologies, which is like confusing
Are
me.
like artificial serendipity is basically what you do, your work. How artificial because this practice of finding serendipity through your work happens in the conventional sense as well, but artificial because you're not directly indulging in the pre-creation of the the making of the artworks, right? And synthesia is basically connecting sound and visual, or
Yeah.
connecting different. Yeah. So, how does that happen? What's your like take on that?
Again, it's like it's a very organic process. Yes, synesthesia is something I find really interesting. Because for me, I've grown in a environment where any input, any sensory input was um, not taken for granted. It was being critiqued, it was being investigated, it was being analyzed. So as a younger sibling, I've always like found that interesting, and I've like that has got me, and I'm also being a very sensitive person, so that has gotten me more like like fascinated with those aspects. And yeah, I mean it's a holistic sort of like approach. I feel like you can, I mean, even if like right now, if you can hear, you can look at the wave, but if you don't have the sound of the wave, then then it just looks like muted, right?
Hmm.
So I think we as humans are like very much trained to see everything holistically, right? So that's not like we never
Nothing is
worked in
independent. Yeah.
isolation, never ever. So humans are trained like that, aren't we?
Um, so, do you find it difficult to explain your body of work as art? Because because there is, I mean, come on, we're in India, and there is a lot of like, let's say, lack of awareness in
Hmm.
terms of what art, the potential of art, what art could be,
Hmm.
right? So, do you find it difficult to explain it to others? And when you do explain it to others, how is it how is it responded to?
I mean, frankly, as I said, that I have just started to, you know, how do I
Like
say
based
it?
on
Like,
abhi tak ka experience,
हाँ
like
अभी
up
तक तो
up till now.
yeah, I mean, till now I've been running my studio, right? as a creative researcher, as a creative designer plus a researcher. And when it comes to the art practice, like it's something that will be, it's an evolving process. It is something which will be defined as and when I keep doing more and more work, right? So by just doing like one project or one piece of work will not call me an artist, right? It will not be fair.
Yeah.
Maybe I can be artist in my like studio, right, where I can just keep creating like illustrations or like drawings and stuff, which is just very personal to me. But then I don't know, I'm not really comfortable at this point of time to put that across, you know, because I'm still like kind of figuring it out myself. But then there are other things which I know I want to explore, which is with creative technology, and it comes very intuitively to me, right? So which makes sense of the world that I'm living in. Let's say that, right? So I think it's in a way that I'm trying to make sense of the world that I live in, and like these projects that I'm doing is very much trying to help me with that.
So they are personal.
Yeah, it's very much personal, man. No
So-
doubt about it.
so that makes it more,
even though there are subject matters which are out there, it's yoga is for everyone. It's just not for me. Kolam is for everyone to see. It's just
Exactly.
not for me. But I made it personal because I see it I've seen it in a way which has related to me in a different way.
So I did this project on fractals. Okay, so my teacher had
Fractals.
teacher had given me. We had a project to do on Indian aesthetics. So I tried to figure out what is the aesthetics that goes behind fractals. So Indian aesthetics में उस पे apply किया था. तो I did read about it. So there's these co-founders of Creative AI who basically say that Mandelbrot set the path for the code art revolution. So now fast forward 50 years, there's so much progression in the field in terms of, when we look at it globally, like from there we've, explored so much and there's so much innovation in this specific area. So how do you place yourself in this creatively competitive environment? Because there's so many people, at least not in India, theek hai, but globally there's so many people who are doing kind of like the same thing, but with their own personal touch. Artists, I mean. And also, are you part of any collective organization? I mean, apart from Time Blur, and does your field allow for a collaborative or a collective interaction and discourse between interdisciplinary practitioners?
Okay, we'll have to break this into
Yeah,
two
we'll
parts.
have to break this. Yeah. First of all, how do you place yourself in such a creatively competitive environment? Because there's thinking that's very complex here. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a good question, and it's good that you're putting it across. It makes me think, and then verbalize my thoughts as well. But then, so when I see like a lot of like digital artists work, especially with generative art, I find this like, let's say Ben Fry's work, who's the creator of processing, the software that we also work with. So he himself is an artist. Casey Rias, his work, if you see, is like really cool. Like he works a lot with like I mean generative art, so he has like elements very like beautifully placed. And then there's Zach Lieberman, whose work is equally good. So when you see their work, you find like, wow, that's like visually so appealing, and it looks digital, it looks really there is a sense of chaos in there and stuff like that. And but then in my, like, I don't know, in my mode of working, yeah, there's always been like, I've always sort of seeing like mystical patterns in the ordered structures, right? Like for me, that just is a driving force. And like I like to kind of follow that very much. And I somehow find it missing as well in the work that I see, right? Like that the mystical, maybe it is my own delusional head who is trying to make patterns out of the things that I see. For example, this column project that I'm doing, I mean, it's derived from the aesthetics of column, but then on the way of like researching about column visually, like I was visually drawing. So when I'm drawing it, I have I have come across a lot of ideas, or a lot of my self representation in it, right? So now I'm working with petals, basically. They're like eye drops, and I'm like, they are in an orchestrated fashion, they work. and then they make these really beautiful patterns, which again, it's somewhat like a serendipity, right?
It's not planned out,
It's
but
not
it
planned
happens
out at all, but it
organically.
just happened, and it has involvement of fractals in it, right? So cell similar patterns, right, at every scale that you zoom in. So because I was also intrigued with uh, the golden ratio or the Mandelbrot set, and then there is Sierpinski triangle, right? So I think because I was reading chaos theory also, I I put that those applications somehow organically fitting into this in the project that I'm doing.
So, again, are you part of any collective organizations apart from Time Blur? And also, does your field allow for collaborative efforts?
Most of my work that I'm right now working with is pretty multidisciplinary, right? So it involves an engagement of engineer, let's say hardware engineer. Then you have like I've also worked with some, like I got some architects involved, um, and then some 3D model artists, and so there is like some sort of like a teamwork involved in the work that I do, um, and which is pretty exciting because they learn some bits from this. I also learn tons of things from this collaboration. The other collaboration that is still in works is with the neuroscientist that I was talking about. He's a professor, assistant professor in IIT Gandhinagar. So I'm really kind of looking forward to such sort of collaborations because yeah, that would be exciting.
So, do you have any next? Is there any ambitious project that you have saved up for the future? Is there anything that
Not for the future, but
Okay,
yes, for the
immediate future,
coming,
let's just
yeah,
say.
the coming months, I am going to be involved in the Kolam project. So I'm I'm really like interested in making a kinetic installation because it's very meditative, and with again the focus has always been kind of looking at meditative mystical patterns and having a lot of Indian aesthetics to it. um, and then yeah, if functionality comes in the like if functionality also comes as a
Byproduct.
byproduct, then yeah, I would love to kind of have that as well. But I don't want to force feed anything. First I want to really kind of um, just be loose with the expressions, and just let loose in the whole process of expressing it, or like presenting it or exhibiting it. I love that idea of putting it out, and then we'll see how it goes. But there's no like conscious effort in like making it as some just I need to make it as a lamp, or I need to make this as a um, um, any sort of like a functional piece. But if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
These things are like lifelong projects. Like I can't leave just nadi sculpture as is. I it's one rendition is the sculpture, but then there is much more to the movement
Possibilities.
analysis of yoga itself, right? And then with machine learning coming into place, into picture, it will,
Transform altogether.
yeah, you can really like take it to another place. So there is so much that I want to do. So yeah.
I think that's it. We take a cut here. Yeah, capture that. That's important.
Slice it out, please.
I would add it in the the documentation. I don't know. You tell me.